Kansas, and the name might sound like it's kind of ordinary, but it's far from it. Behind me is what's called the widest main street in America. 155 feet from one side to the other. Obviously there's a little median they've added to the middle, so it's not just straight wide except for right there in the intersection of town. But we'll come back and talk about this, but let's walk down the downtown area and talk a little bit more about Plains, and then we'll come back and talk about this street at the end. Plains, Kansas is located in Meade County. Meade County is located in the southwest part of Kansas along the Oklahoma border. The entire county's population is just over 4,000, and Plains is the second largest town in Meade County behind the county seat of Meade. Plains is located on the western edge of the county, and it was originally named West Plains when it was platted in January of 1885, and eventually the name was just shortened to Plains. It was located along the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad, and that obviously helped its population grow, as you could not survive in this part of Kansas without really being along the railroad at that time. Grand Avenue, which is what you're looking at as we're walking down the street here, is 155 feet 5 inches wide. Bob Ripley from Ripley's Believe It or Not stated that it was the widest main street in the United States. In 1901, Albert Hempel and Don Edwards surveyed and laid out the main street of Plains. And asked why they made the main street so wide, they answered, quote, "There was plenty of no good ground, so it just as well be the street." The street was unpaved until 1929, and the city decided to pave half of each side of the street with bricks. Later on, a man named Simon Elliott, who was mayor of the town, added the brick sidewalk down the middle of the street, and the walk that goes about 3 blocks long in the center of town here is known as Simon's Monument. The population grew slow and steadily in Plains from its founding in the 1880s all the way until 1980, when it hit 1,000 for the first time, and then it has remained pretty steady right around the 1,000 mark, and today is at 1,037. As I was going around town, it was interesting how it was laid out. I don't know how close you might pay attention to the drone footage, but you can see how the town was built up around the railroad, and it's kind of wedged between kind of 2 main roads, 54 on the south and 160 on the north. And as you go towards the north part of town, kind of past where the main, Grand Avenue in the middle is, you can see there's a bunch of new housing, probably where the majority of the population lives on the north half of that. And then there's a golf course and, you know, community center, parks, swimming pool, all that kind of stuff on the north side. And then on the south side of town, it's all the older buildings, obviously the main downtown area, and everything that, like I said, grew up around the railroad. You know, when you come to a town like this, it says the widest Main Street. It's kind of a unusual tourist attraction. And then when you explore the rest of the town, though, you see that this is a, you know, community that is definitely proud of you know, what they are, and there's a lot of things like school spirit and things to do for younger people. You know, that they've made a nice little community out here in Meade County. Very interesting, as the naming of the streets is right where I'm sitting next to is First Street, which is called Shocker Street, which I work at Wichita State, so I like how they named First Street Shockers. And then Second Street is Jayhawk, aka KU, and Third Street is, of course, Wildcat Street, which is was a shocker, a former Wichita State person, significant in Plains? I don't know that, but first is Wichita State, 2 is KU, 3 is K-State. And then this next street to the south of Shocker Street is Ohio Street, which is where I'm originally from. So this is my kind of town. For the final part of this video, let's go over to Shocker Street. Let's see how many steps it is to walk across from one side to the other. This is Shocker Street right behind me. How many steps will it take for me to get across? I'm just gonna take normal walking steps. Make a guess, we'll see how close you are. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30, 40, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. 50 steps across Shocker Street, the widest main street in America. Shockers, go Shocks.